Hello, it's time to talk the different types of forests that we have throughout North America. And in the last video, we talked about the criteria that determines the different types of forest or ecoregions we have. So in this one, we will go over several of the ones that we have. Please note that you can divide and subdivide forests into smaller regions. And so we're just going to stick with some of the bigger ones while we talk here today. So we're going to start up north here, and you can see on the map that we've got these kind of blue and this green area that stretches across much of Canada and then wraps around and goes into Alaska a bit. This is called the boreal forests, and boreal forests are really actually quite important. They sometimes get kind of a bad rap because not a whole lot of people live up there. It's mostly indigenous lands, and so people sometimes think of it as land that's a wasteland, but it's actually ecologically speaking rather important. Um, and I remember thinking it's wasteland, no one lives up there, who cares? I remember thinking that when I was a young adult. But it turns out that the ground is usually what we call permafrost. And so it's almost always permanently frozen underground. And it stores carbon and methane in the ground. And we love that when it comes to things like climate because we want that carbon to stay in the ground. It helps regulate the climate so that things work for us really well. Okay? And so we love the boreal forest. So boreal forests have that permafrost, and there is lots of snow and precipitation up there. So it's sometimes you've got glaciers in there and stuff like that. But it's as far as forests are concerned, there's often things lots of pines up there, or firs and hemlocks. And then the animals that are in that area are like moose and bears, grizzlies. You've got elk in some cases in these places. And so there are lots of different animals up there. Lynx and hare. Oh, the lynx and hare stories. That's so fascinating. Wolves are up there as well. Caribou. Probably not so much elk. Elk is probably more down further south. But anyway, you've got all these magnificent animals that live in this ecosystem, and as a really important ecosystem at that. Okay, so now let's move over to the east side, the green area. The green area, the dark green area that we see along the east around the Great Lakes is our eastern deciduous forests. The eastern deciduous forests have lots of maple trees. They've got some oaks, birch trees. Oh, the birch trees in northern New York are just amazing. So there's lots of different trees in there. They're tall and they're beautiful, and they cover the landscape. If you clear the landscape within a few years, they're going to come back. Again, the maple trees. There's a reason why Canada has the maple leaf as its kind of logo, and that's because most of Canada's population live in this region right around the Great Lakes, and the maple tree is huge, and so they make lots of maple syrup. If you ever go to the Niagara Falls, go across the border and get some maple ice cream there at the visitor center. Fantastic. Um, just yummy. Even if you don't like maple syrup or maple candies and stuff, you'll like that maple ice cream. It's fabulous. Anyway, so lots of wonderful deciduous trees. And if you don't remember what a deciduous tree is, that's a normal tree typically with a flat leaf, and they typically flower in some way. Okay, so down here, this light green area that's in the south and down into Florida is what we call the southern pine forests. Okay, here it's listed as a subtropical humid forest. Obviously, you're going to have other trees besides pines, but I've always called it the southern pine forest There's lots of pines in this area. And as a result, pines usually come some kind of fire return interval. And so there's fires that come in here and help clean them out periodically. But they very quickly, because of all of the precipitation down in here, quickly recover. This center section is not really a forest land. These are mostly grasslands of some kind here. This area is called a steppe. A steppe is a transition zone. This is your prairie grasslands, anywhere from short grass on this side to tall grass. We're not going to talk about those. And then over this orange area is what we call the sage steppe and pinyon juniper woodlands are mostly in these orange areas here. So the woodlands would be considered a forest. They're not super tall trees, but they do result in a forest. And as another result of our management of the land, we do get quite a few wildfires in this area because the woodlands have encroached down into the sagebrush areas, and they're too dense. And so we get really big wildfires in this area. And so you'll see things like pinyons and junipers in this area. Now this blue area that exists right here is going to be your lots of aspen in this area. You're going to get lots of different types of pines and deciduous trees in here. You're also along the East Coast you're going to get different types of trees. You're going to get redwoods and tall sequoias and Douglas firs, all very tall trees. Some of them, the redwoods reaching up 300 feet into the air. That's the length of a football field. 300 or 100 yards up, 100 meters up. That they're super tall trees in these areas, and so you've got these what we call the Pacific Coast forests over here that do that. Up here in this green area, you get the northeast these northeast mountain systems. So a lot of the volcanoes and stuff. There's a lot of trees. It's beautiful, picturesque forests in these northeastern forests. They get tons of rain coming down from Alaska into this area. And so you get lots of tourism, up to $50 billion in tourism up here. Lots and lots of stuff going on there. And then as you come down the west coast, you're going to get into a Mediterranean climate. And Mediterranean climates are very moderate. They don't have extreme cold or extreme hot. And as a result, they can grow plants that are a little more sensitive to that kind of climate. So olives and avocados and lots of tropical fruit and stuff can exist down here in Southern California. And so you get that. So the other thing is you're moving up into the mountains in Southern California, you're getting a lot of what we call chaparral. And chaparral woodland systems are very shrub-like trees. They're not very tall, and they're very flammable. And as a result, they have a very large, what we call fire return interval. As short as every 5 years is how frequently, in some cases, they are supposed to burn. And so, frequently we see wildfires on the news in Southern California. And one of the big reasons for that is that you've got these annual grasses that die every year that are living around the chaparral area with scrub oak and all sorts of these small shrub trees that are just highly volatile and that are supposed to burn frequently. And so, yeah, that's Southern California, Mediterranean area. And then, of course, there's our region right in this part of the map, this brown area. Typically, this is what we call a subtropical hot desert areas. We got the Mojave Desert, the Sonoran Desert, and the Chihuahuan Desert, all in this area. And this area is characterized by, tall cacti. In some cases here in Arizona, we got the saguaro cacti, and all sorts of cacti, of course, characterized by very, very dry areas. And so the other thing that's unique about this area is you get something called sky islands. And so Mount Graham, which is really close to where we are here in Thatcher, Arizona, we've got a sky island. And so as you're down here in the hot desert, you can go up. And as you're going up the mountain, you can see transition zones into different ecoregions as you go up. And so you may start in a hot desert, but you can go up into a woodland or sagebrush, or not sagebrush, but a shrubland, and then a woodland, and then a pine forest, and then at the top you've got aspens, and then a kind of a boreal system at the very, very, very top, which is representing much of how the north to south development of trees are across the United States and into Canada. So you get lots of those sky islands down into Mexico and in southern Arizona. And so they're very, very fascinating to go up the mountains and to see those transitions.